Now with the UFC 330 card in the books and Islam Makhachev successfully defending his title against Ian Machado Gary, there was a little time to reflect in this regard, especially with respect to persuasion. Because leading up to this event, there was a lot of negative comments that I saw. Now let me just put it like this, so that nobody is confused or whatever. I'm a huge UFC fanboy. So I'm not exactly gonna be neutral here. I'm very, very biased, in fact. However, when I see comments like, we've become what we hate, boxing, and Dana has checked out, stars are vanishing, is Islam versus Ian the final card before entering the worst UFC era of all time? This is so dumb, I don't even know what to say. Are you literally hearing yourself? I just went in right now and I saw how the UFC has 9 scheduled events as of right now, and believe me, there's going to be more events. Their biggest competitor has 3. UFC has 9, their biggest competitor has 3. The UFC is in a league of their own. And also this statement, we've become what we hate, boxing. That's kind of like the most unfair comparison I've ever heard in a while. Because you're not comparing apples and apples, you're comparing apples to oranges. The UFC is a promotion within the sport of MMA. And you're comparing the UFC to the entire industry and sport of boxing. That's not fair. Those aren't fair grounds. Especially given how how popular boxing has become and how many years boxing has had to build up their industry. And now the UFC is like gradually taking over. And because there is one card that some people, by the way, it was a good card because I watched it. Yeah, there were a couple of snooze fights, but whatever. The main card was very, very good, in my opinion. There was a lot of great matchups, a lot of competitive fights. And actually, once again, I'm hugely biased. 10 years ago, when I started watching the UFC or following the UFC, there were a lot of less than interesting fights and cards going on. A lot of snooze fests. There were the undercards that they weren't fun at all. Nowadays, the undercards are so exciting because there's a lot of competitive guys there, and the level has increased. The level of MMA, the level of jiu-jitsu, the level of Thai boxing, etc., etc. Levels have increased, and that's why fights are so competitive, and that's why the UFC punches in a weight class of its own. And so when you're comparing an MMA promotion to an entire industry, to an entire sport, that's not fair. And you're saying stars are vanishing. No, they're not vanishing. If you knew anything about fight promotion and events, you know that if you have a collection of stars, you want to spread them out across the years. You can't make all the stars fight at once because that means that there are no stars left. And by the way, why does a fighter need to be a star in order for you to watch the fight? Because I'm telling you, there's a lot of fighters who aren't stars, who don't have a high media profile, who are tremendously skilled. Just go watch the average UFC fight card. Next weekend, there is a regular UFC fight show. It's not a numbered event. It's not a pay-per-view event. Or they don't have pay-per-view events anymore, but whatever. It's none of those number events. But it's still a great card because there's a lot of exciting fights there. Go watch it. I'm promising you there's going to be fireworks there. And yeah, once again, I'm biased. But the point is, when you're persuading people, when you want to persuade people with troll comments and low IQ stuff, you need to be talking to morons. This is 65 IQ grade stuff. Most people who watch the UFC who are informed know that this simply isn't true. And so the overall point is, as I've alluded to before, when you have such a lousy case, the only people you can persuade are the idiots. If you want to learn more about sales persuasion and business, I wanted to say boxing. I don't know why sales persuasion. Boxing, that was actually pretty cool. Sales persuasion boxing. No, sales persuasion business. Get subscribed to my email list. The link to do so is below the episode description wherever you are watching and or listening to this. And I'll see you there.